A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, academicians, members from the industry, friends, members of the press, my dear colleagues from QS and QS IGAUGE. A very warm welcome to this yet another historic day for QS IGAUGE in India. And I'm delighted to be welcoming all of you on this very special occasion. The journey from the year 2018 to 2020 seems like it just passed yesterday. In this short span, QS IGAUGE as a brand took baby steps by auditing 11 institutions in its pilot project. And within 2 years after that, we have been able to touch more than 90 institutions that have signed up with us as a sign of a quality benchmark for their institutions. Till now, over 65 institutions have received their QS IGAUGE rating. Over 50 institutions have applied and received their QS IGAUGE e-lead certification, which is one of the only benchmarks for digitalization of education in India and perhaps around the world. And with that, today we are here to champion yet a big change for QS IGAUGE and have a panel discussion chaired by Mr. Ben Sauter, which are represented by QS IGAUGE rated institutions. During our live events and even in the virtual world, we were able to stay connected with all of you. And we have had touch points with over 1,000 institutions pan-India. I express my sincere gratitude for all the support which you have all provided us, which has enabled us to take our journey even further. As I speak with you today, you all must have already heard the big news of this afternoon. The much awaited National Education Policy has been approved and released by the Indian Cabinet. You will also hear some updates from our team on how this is integrated into our rating process. I'm sure you all must have glanced through the draft NEP, and there are some key highlights relating to how institutions will be transformed. And I'm proud that QS IGAUGE will be touching upon this in the institutional journey in the future. The policy says that affiliated colleges will be developed or transition into autonomous colleges. University is expected to go a major transformation by classifying them into research-focused and teaching-focused institutions, with more emphasis on interdisciplinary research and courses. Online teaching is set to make a big wave. All of us are excited for the National Education Policy, and we're delighted that the release of the National Education Policy has coincided with the launch of Methodology 2.0 and subject ratings for QS IGAUGE this afternoon. So ladies and gentlemen, when we actually started the ratings in India, the goal was to provide a platform where institutions from all over India could achieve their mission of quality enhancements by understanding their strengths and improvement areas. Through these 2 years, we've had various institutions, right from fashion to engineering and from medicine to speech and therapy, who have taken the first step towards self-evaluation and assessment for institutional excellence. We have over the years been able to refine the methodology through extensive literature reviews, data analysis, and studies on new and changing dynamics and dimensions in education to craft our new institutional ratings. We also have implemented feedback shared by institutions regarding any challenges they face during the rating process and try to strengthen areas to improve the institution's internal quality assurance processes. So there is so much to talk about today, and we want to share with you all we have. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the panelists and to all of you who have joined us live on YouTube. Please do like and subscribe to our page to receive updates in the future. So to mark this special occasion, we have with us today Mr. Ben Sauter, Senior Vice President QS and Managing Director, QS Intelligence Unit, who will deliver his keynote address soon after this. Ben is also going to chair the panel with Vice Chancellors and Presidents of QS IGAUGE rated institutions to hear their experience on their journey. Without further much ado, I would like to now welcome Ben to address the audience, and I'll come back to you through the course of this program. Thank you so much, and over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Ashwin, and thank you to all of those attending and following us on YouTube today, and to all of our panelists for joining from across India to talk about their experiences engaging with QS. I think the word of the day is adaptability, and it applies in a number of different contexts. It applies to my personal situation right now. I'm in the unusual circumstances of facing a power cut here in the UK. So I'm talking to you through my mobile phone, which hopefully provides a clear enough pickup of my words so that you can hear my messages clearly. However, I've asked Ashwin to stand into my chairing role for the panel to ensure that we can get a reliable back and forth of information between our panelists, the chair asking the questions, and the audience out there following the session. I apologize for the situation I'm facing here, but I imagine over the years, many of you are familiar with the challenges facing us when the power goes out. But isn't that already interesting, that some of the things that we take for granted day to day, the ability to connect online, are affected by something so simple as a power outage, which is something that we may have taken for granted for many years. Today, it seems unusual, unexpected, and deeply inconvenient to deal with something that generations of people have dealt with ably in the past. By the same token, the challenges facing our world and our communities and our societies at the moment are deep and profound. And once again, we have all been asked to adapt quickly, profoundly, and fundamentally to what might be referred to as the new normal, working from home, taking meetings online through Zoom or Teams or Google Hangouts or whatever other platforms that you're being expected to engage and learn around. Suddenly, all of the people who've been able to hold up their hands in offices and ask somebody else to make the technology work have been forced to adapt and figure out how to use these technologies in the home. The technologies themselves have had to quickly ramp up to accept and manage the additional bandwidth and the additional usage that is being demanded of them all around the world, making them both more reliable, perhaps more user-friendly, and more a fundamental and irreversible part of our collective future, even beyond the circumstances of the current crisis. Winston Churchill once said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." But John D. Rockefeller once said, "I always try to turn every disaster into an opportunity. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the heart of what it means to be genuinely adaptable, to take not only the best path through a crisis, but understand what opportunities it potentially brings. Universities around the world are under a dramatic amount of pressure to perhaps recover lost revenues, to bring students back into the classroom, to figure out how to digitize their classrooms and deliver a meaningful, compelling, and comparable experience online. Suddenly, the inertia that was there a little bit around online education has vanished entirely. If a year ago you spoke to somebody who had worked in a university for 20 years about online education, the typical response was, yeah, you know, it's getting better, but it's never going to be good enough to replace campus education. Today, we have absolutely no choice but to ensure that it is good enough to replace campus education. We're no longer expecting people to think outside the box. The box has been completely obliterated altogether. And it's the universities that best take the opportunity to adapt and prepare for what comes next that are going to be those that are most successful. QS is facing the same challenges. We've had to pivot many of our physical events to digital. We've had to adapt many of our many of our products to adapt to the immediate needs of our clients. But life hasn't stopped. We've seen very different reactions from universities in different parts of the world who are all under pressure. Some have pretty much suspended almost all activity. They've pretty much said, okay, yeah, well, we're not going to engage now, or we're not going to engage yet, or this thing that we were planning to do, we've stopped because we don't know what the future holds. Other institutions are taking the opportunity to say, well, hang on, we've got a little bit of time. Space, perhaps we can more on the things that we need to change to embrace the future. And it's those institutions, ladies and gentlemen, that are going to be the ones that come out of this crisis the strongest, that have effectively turned this potential disaster into an opportunity to build and grow beyond the scope of this crisis, and perhaps beyond the scope that they could have realized had it not occurred, to set back and challenge the sector at large. When we started QS STARS, which is the international evaluation system upon which QS IGAUGE was originally based, the endeavor from the very beginning was to be adaptive and evolving, to recognize that the changes in the world and the changes in the sector and the demands placed on universities were ever changing, and therefore so too must be the standards by which they are measured. To reflect on the standards that are applied to hotels, perhaps. If we were to go back 50 years, we don't even know what Wi-Fi is, let alone expect a 5-star hotel to offer free Wi-Fi in all of their hotel rooms. In 1990, even, we still don't know what Wi-Fi is. In 2000, obviously, Wi-Fi is beginning to become a norm, but it's acceptable to charge for it. In 2010, increasingly, I think people are perturbed when they check into an otherwise good hotel and are expected to pay a daily surcharge for something that costs the hotel very little and that many of their competitors offer for free. So the ratings, the standards that are expected of a hotel have changed over time. You cannot do what you did in 1980 and expect to achieve the same 5-star rating that you achieved then in 2020. So too for universities, as the world evolves and changes and the demands placed on universities, both in terms of the people they're churning out to fuel the needs of the workforce, their commitment to arts and culture, and their powerful contribution to science and research, those aspects are all changing and at an ever increasing rate. For the past 10 years, I've visited a lot of universities, and one of the things that most of them have in common is actually their ability to change quickly enough to meet those demands has been hampered by the inertia of many people who've worked there for many years and struggled to see the limitations of a 30, 50, 100-year-old approach to university education as we move forward into new eras. The current crisis, I think, has woken up many people to the fact that change is inevitable and that universities need to move quickly to adapt to its demands. As QS Stars evolved, so too did our ability to engage with universities in different countries and learn more about what was important in different places. And in 2018, well, leading up to 2018, we had some fascinating engagements in India, understanding the commonalities and differences between the challenges that universities in India are facing versus those in the rest of the world. There are over 350 million people between the ages of 10 and 24 in India. A huge demand on the education system, a scale that few other countries can even begin to comprehend. For international institutions, there is a strong shift in the supply chain from China to India that's been taking place over the past 10 years and will continue to take place over the next 10 years. The influence of the crisis is perhaps going to demand those international institutions find increasing ways through partnership, through online, and potentially through presence in country to deliver their education into India to support the Indian education system that is increasingly straining at the seams. What does that mean for Indian universities? Well, it means that the standards for what comprises quality and effectiveness are changing and changing fast. They're being increasingly influenced by international comparators. The rise of the private sector has brought new dimensions that in some cases the public sector have been slow to respond to. So begins the story of IGAUGE, a recalibrated evaluation standard across a wide range of indicators designed to specifically serve India's needs, both domestically, but also as it ramps up to try to deliver increasing volumes of international standards and prepare not only the future workforce for India, but indeed for the world, given the influence of that demographic bubble pushing through, rather contrary to patterns in other countries. So it is no surprise that we're here in 2020 announcing version 2.0, that 2-year journey has resulted in many observations where we have been able to further adapt to the needs of the time and the needs of the sector. As universities have engaged with us, we've discovered more about what data it is feasible to gather and what data it is not feasible to gather. And as people have been watching and engaging with IGAUGE, and we have been aggressively listening, we have managed to bring a greater volume of expertise and engagement into the IGAUGE extended family, both through our advisory boards and through our internal audit teams and through the participants of IGAUGE, so that we have been able to learn more and adapt to the next iteration of what seems to be needed to support excellence in Indian education. For anybody online who's thinking about joining IGAUGE, it may not feel like the time is now, but if not now, when? As we emerge from this crisis and the demands on Indian institutions are going to be increasingly divergent and increasingly difficult and increasingly challenged and increasingly competitive, what better way to understand how well we're stacking up and to diagnose our current performance than to engage in something that not only offers an opportunity to evaluate against a standard, but increasingly, as institutions across India begin to flock to this banner, provides a future opportunity to do effective benchmarking in a very diverse range of different performance dynamics. I'm extremely proud of the team in Bangalore that we've put together and the work that they have put in to recalibrate and design this new version of the methodology. We've had some fascinating existential and philosophical conversations across QS and the IGAUGE team about what's important and how we can begin to tackle some difficult to measure, but nonetheless challenging and vital aspects of what universities expect themselves to do and what people expect of them. So thank you all for joining today. I'm sure you will be as fascinated as we have been by the developments and the things that have led to them. And I'm very happy to pass back to the Bangalore team to take you through the proposed changes and obviously the emergence of the subject ratings, which we can speak to at a global level as being a vital aspect, because ultimately, for the majority of students, they tend to know what they want to study before they explore where they want to study it. Congratulations to the team, and congratulations to all of you for your future participation and no doubt enviable achievements through the IGAUGE evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben, for your keynote and your opening remarks. And the time has come to share with you what is a methodology 2.0, what is the subject ratings, and how does it align with your institutional policy and your benchmark to excellence. So I would now like to invite my colleague and our Chief Knowledge Officer for QS IGAUGE, Professor Paddy, Professor Padmanabha Ramanujam, to come on and present to you the highlights of methodology 2.0 and subject ratings. Over to you, Paddy.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you, Ben, for that wonderful keynote. Let me start this entire presentation with a favorite quote of mine, J.R.D. Tata. He said that you will never be able to move towards, if you don't practice perfection, you'll never be moved towards excellence. You know, I imbibe those words. Methodology 2.0 is a journey towards, I would not say perfection, but an excellence. There's a lot of work we at QS IGAUGE have done in terms of understanding how the 100 institutions which have been audited, to take more feedback from the institutions, to go back to our experts, to understand what could change, and also to build the narrative of methodology 2.0 on certain aspects of national education policy, which is actually today, which has been approved. And we're all so excited to know that 2.0 is being launched on the same day when NEP is being tabled and approved at the Parliament. Let me take you through some of the important highlights. I would, as course of in course of today's presentation, I would be touching upon the journey which we have gone through. That is the last 2 years journey, the highlights of methodology 2.0, and also briefly introduce the subject rating methodology. The journey, it has been a fascinating journey so far for QS IGAUGE. 1.2, more than 90 plus institutions signed it, audited, participated, and also have used the QS IGAUGE scorecard, for marketing and reaching out to the potential stakeholders, namely students and parents. What is the need for methodology 2.0? This is a very interesting question. We were having a lot of conversation within and during the, and also taking institutions in accordance. And when we even went through national education policy, now the national education policy has made it very clear that they're going to have two types of universities in India. What they are classification names them as research universities, which indulge in research and some aspects of teaching, and teaching universities, which will do more of teaching and less of research. So we had to restructure our methodology 2.0 in such a way that it would, it would reflect the idea and the vision of NEP as well. So research, which was earlier a mandatory component for all the universities, is now, it's not that it is mandatory, but if you want to go and score a platinum badge, it is mandatory. Otherwise, the institutions are free to choose any of the two advanced criteria. So that is a new development in methodology 2.0. The other development in methodology 2.0 is, we have created a lot of flexibility within the indicators, like institutions can choose between best learning practices or further studies. So that kind of flexibility is created so that institutions do not have to go with one choice of indicator. They can choose either of the two indicators, so that this flexibility would help institutions to see and judge where is their vision, what kind of a vision they have for the university, and what kind of indicators are actually supporting the vision. So that kind of flexibility has been inbuilt. So what is the other exciting ideas about The indicators are, let's say, for example, in teaching and learning, we have introduced best practices in learning, which is again in alignment with the NEP. As far as the faculty publication goes, we have expanded the definition of publication to even include the UGC care list journals. As far as the employability goes, we have enhanced and we are looking at career development cell and also different kinds of counseling services for the students as part of the career development cell. As far as the diversity and accessibility indicator goes, this indicator has gone through a significant change. Earlier, internationalization was part of this indicator, but international, inbound students and outbound students were never part of the vision for all universities, and many universities were not, did share us the feedback that this needs to be separated. So we have taken those feedbacks as well. The other thing under diversity is we are, there are all women's institutions in India, so we had to address that. So we are addressing that. We're also looking at financial equality and how scholarships are offered by institutions under diversity. But I think the excitement bit for all of us is the 3 new advanced criteria that we have created. I think this is going to be a game changer, because if institutions are not research driven, they're teaching driven. So academic development would really help institutions to go and test how good a teaching university they are. Like, for example, Learning Development Center, under the academic development indicator, or I would say criteria, the most fascinating story for me is academic freedom. We all would have read the report which came in the month of March that India as a country, Indian institutions as such are not doing very well in academic freedom. The AFI index, which is a global index for measuring academic freedom across institutions, India doesn't score that very well. So we have brought in an indicator called academic freedom. We want to study how institutions are doing in academic freedom, and probably this could be a game changer given the fact that NEP is also emphasizing on a bit of academic freedom. I think the governance and structure is going to be a very important, I would say, criteria, because if any institution wants to move from diamond to platinum, it is very important that they have to take this criteria, governance and structure, along with any of the other criteria. But the moot point is the governance and structure is a criteria which will give a lot of information to students and parents, how strong the internal structure is, what kind of process they have laid out for like be it board of studies or be it ethics committee, so these kind of sub indicators have been created. A detailed masterclass on methodology 2.0 on these criteria will soon be announced. But I just thought, in the given time, I need to mention some of the important aspects of these criteria. Let me quickly go back to subject ratings. When at QS IGAUGE, we were contemplating to have subject ratings, we debated a lot. And a lot of this insights, which I'm going to throw is, it's been, inspiration is taken from NEP. For example, technology integrated or simulation approach or technology integrated as part of the teaching is one of the most important core aspects of NEP. So NEP promotes that many of the universities use technology, for the teaching. So we have made technology integrated simulation approach based teaching as one of the most important criteria, in our subject rating as well. They emphasize on practice-based approach. They emphasize on skill development center, which is important. We want to see how every subject is trying to impart those skills, which will potentially make the students employable. We are also trying to test that. Definitely research centers and the kind of role the research centers play in various subjects are also important for us. Specialized infrastructure for various subjects, like for example, in journalism, you have studios, in law school, you have moot courts, in engineering, you have incubation center, in education, you have labs. So those kind of emphasis is also being made for understanding the subject better. Ben was absolutely right in his talk when he said that any student, before he decides where to go, he would have made a decision as to what he wants to do, and therefore subject rating methodology would become very important from the stakeholders' perspective, because rather than looking at a university, if a student is applying, before I came onto this presentation, I randomly called 20 students and I was trying to figure out, what are the questions they have. So the students are very clear about the subjects that they would want to study, and the next question they would want to ask is how this particular subject is doing within the scope of the university rather than the university as such. How a law school is doing within the scope of the university, how the business school is doing within the scope of that university. So that is where subject rating would immensely help institutions, and because it is going to give a lot more information to the students who are looking at that particular, I would say, specialization or particular subject that they intend to pursue. So we have developed a subject rating, keeping in mind some of the most important aspects which student might be interested in, be it the practice-based approach, the skill-based approach, or the kind of accolades that particular department has got, or the kind of technology integration that is taking place within that school or within that department, or the kind of specialized infrastructure they have put in place for making that school really successful. So keeping this in mind, we have created 12 subject rating and 5 more to come. But I would say that these are really exciting times for the institutions as well as for the stakeholders, because I think this is going to give a lot more information for students and parents to take a very, I would say, informed decision as to which and how they go about choosing institutions. Thank you so much, Ashwin. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much, the entire QS IGAUGE team for for making this happen. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Patty, for the introduction and highlights to methodology 2.0 and subject ratings. These will be available to all of you who are attending today. If you have registered and we have your email on file, we will be sending you all those methodology copies for you to refer to. So you'll be the first people to receive it before it becomes public later today. So now the time has come for the panel discussion, which we have arranged, which Mr. Ben Sauter will chair, on reflections on QS IGAUGE ratings for institutional excellence. And we have invited some eminent vice chancellors, leaders of universities from India that have used QS IGAUGE, have been evaluated in the past, and have experienced how and what QS IGAUGE has done for their institution. So I would like to invite first Ben to come on, and while I'm inviting the rest of the panelists, if I can start to announce the names, you will see them come online. We have Dr. Shashi Anand, who's the Vice President Academic of Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education, Dr. Kuldeep Raina, Vice Chancellor of DIT University, Dr. B. Suresh, Pro-Chancellor, JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research, Dr. Suku Bhaskaran, President of GD Goenka University, Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, Vice Chancellor of SRM Institute of Science and Technology, and Dr. Amita Dev, the Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women. So welcome all of you, and I would like to hand over to Ben to take the proceedings further. Do we have Ben as yet with us? So Ben has been having challenges with the internet previously today. So in his absence, he has asked me to go ahead with the panel, and we'll look forward to getting him back the moment he has coverage. So I was looking at all the institutions which are represented on this panel. We have from the south, from the north, and from in between as well. So we have a good representation of Indian universities, and all of you have got a very good rating in the QS IGAUGE system. So I would like to go around the panel, and I would like to focus on basically what has been your institutional journey and how it has been impacted positively post a QS IGAUGE rating. And if it has, if you'd like to share your experience, you can take a few minutes to broadly just tell us what has been the experience, what has been the learnings for you, and share it with our audience so they can take away some of your experiences to their institutions. So we'll start with Dr. Shashi Anand, please, if you'd like to talk about this.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Shashi Anand, and I'm the Vice President of Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education, which is a deemed university near Madurai. Good evening to all. So we went for the QS IGAUGE rating in the year 2018, and in 2019, early last year, we were given the diamond rating for our institution. So first and foremost, I would say, as with any accreditation or as with any process, the whole QS IGAUGE was basically a self-reflection. We were able to get an understanding of where our strengths are, and I wouldn't say weakness, but where are areas in which we could focus more, concentrate for further development. And there were some surprising findings also as far as when we went through. We scored really high in the entrepreneurship category, and we did not expect that high amount of scores, and also in terms of our alumni in Connect as well. So, like I would say, as through any process, a lot of surprising findings, analyzing the SWOT analysis of our institution, getting a self idea of where we are, where we stand at, and formulating a strategy for the future plan of direction is definitely one of the best in outcomes of undergoing the QS IGAUGE rating, first and foremost. Secondly, where we have been able to leverage the QS IGAUGE rating badge for our institution is definitely in terms of marketing, and also increasing the perception of our institution both at a national and at an international level. QS rankings, the QS itself, these two letters are known all over the world, especially by academicians. And now the awareness of QS rankings among the Indian population, also academicians and the general public in India, is very high, especially when you tell them about QS. The company people are well aware of that. And when we say that the Indian QS IGAUGE has given us the diamond rating, the perception of the institution changes as a whole. As a result of which, I would say one thing is at a national level, our perception has gone. Many students, many parents, the public has understood the advantages of getting a rating from QS IGAUGE. And also at an international level, we were able to forge more partnerships as a result of the QS IGAUGE rating. And very recently, we also underwent the ABET accreditation process from the US. And when the committee from the US, we had about 15 people from the US visit India. And when they heard, that we have gotten a QS IGAUGE rating, they were able to recognize and understand the importance of that, which helped them in the process as well. So I would say these two things, in terms of a self-study and also in terms of perception, increasing our visibility, QS IGAUGE has definitely helped us so far, and we are sure it would help us in the journey going forward as well. Thank you very much.
Indeed, Dr. Shashi, I also see that, and as an interesting fact, I would like to put to the audience as well, that Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education was the first institution in India to introduce a special BTech program in engineering for the differently able, those with speech and hearing impaired students. Is that correct, Dr. Shashi?
Yes, that's right. It was launched in the year 2006 by the then President, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And currently we admit 40 students every year who are speech and hearing impaired, who are differently abled. And I'm surprised to say, I should not say surprised, I'm very pleased to say that all of them, all 40 of them graduate and get placed in companies like, one of the top companies like Ernst & Young, Capgemini, name the company, students are going over there. So that is one of the unique initiatives, part of our customers, part of our institutional social responsibility, I would say.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Shashi. Over to Dr. Kuldeep Raina, who is the Vice Chancellor of DIT University. Dr. Kuldeep, you have received a high rating as well, and you have also several diamonds in categories like teaching and learning, employability, and facilities and social responsibility, literally in most of them. So what is your reflection on your journey been? And I think it's not been a long time, but I think we'd like to hear from your side, Dr. Kuldeep, on what is that which has just helped transform DIT University?
Thank you, Ashwin, and all my friends and colleagues in this panel. A great pleasure indeed to be amongst you all. Ashwin, at the outset, I would like to thank you, Ben and Paddy, for briefing us about the new outcomes that just now you shared with the panel and the audience that are listening us. I compliment all efforts by QS and bringing QS to India, putting I to it. I think from I, we have to go back to W, the world rankings at the same time. So I'm sure that that is going to happen soon. Congratulations, Ashwin, for making it happen. As far as India IC is concerned, you have put some of the prominent panelists on this show. India has a broad base of dimensions, and in a short span of time, in about 2 years' time, you could assess, accredit around 100 institutions. It itself a testimony about the quality parameter that QS IGAUGE puts in place. And my personal experience being associated with various accreditation bodies in the nation and going across the nation, we have a lot of diversity. I think considering that diversity and putting it into the platform, single platform, must have been a very big challenge to each one of you and your team, that how to normalize various parameters. And that is probably what gave IGAUGE QS a different platform over other rating platforms. Thank you very much for appreciating the efforts of DIT University, Ashwin, that we got a couple of diamonds. In fact, we were expecting platinum, but you put us at diamond. Sure, we have probably one gold as well. So gold is getting costlier day by day. There is no silver, so therefore, we are in a better platform. Ashwin, you say, when you assessed us, it took around 6 months or so for your team to be in touch with us, collect the data from various sources, and putting it in the right perspective, assessing us. During this period, there were a couple of interactions between your team and our IQAC and our team members. That led us to, unfortunate incident is that COVID. So I do not have a success story like Shashi spoke, that they got some time before us, but probably we were first in Uttarakhand to get this type of rating and ranking for our university. And you say, when COVID started in March, we got your certification about a month and a half back. So we tried to use our own resources to reach to our alumni, as well as to our students who are continuing students and the society at large. I would say that it has given us a confidence of a different nature, different kind, that yes, we can do it. Earlier, when we used to have a discussion among our peers as well as in the institution, this QS used to be something, a big bang. Can we ever reach to this domain? But the efforts that you have put in along with us has given us more belief and confidence in ourselves. That is first and the foremost. Secondly, when we shared our success stories with the faculty, I think they were also very overwhelmed that yes, we have all those capabilities, that we come at a platform where nation is assessing us and comparing with our peers and competitors. Earlier, we used to say whether we can do it or not. Your certification, Diamond, gave us that self-confidence. We always say sometimes, on a lighter side, that grass on the other side is green. But I think your rating gave us that grass on our side is also green. So that I would say a compliment to you and your team. Surely, if you look at the diversity of delivering teaching learning process in large group of institutions, it has been focusing towards that only for many years. Thanks to MHRD that they brought in NIRF, thanks to NAC and various accreditation bodies, they put various components in it. Like research probably in most of the institution was not considered to be very, very important, because to me, it is creating knowledge for the future, next generations, and giving us a different platform to reach to the society and community. Another aspect has been our infrastructure. Whatever it is, I am running an institution, I am running a university. I think your rating has also gone intrinsically in assessing whether you have this facility or not. So when it comes to student learning processes, teaching learning processes, Ashwin, I think our society has to match with the global standards today. Like we have always been saying that Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So if in education also, it has to be Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So whatever is true in the United States, whatever is true in Europe should be true in education in India too, because the boundaries between the countries education has depleted them. And at
Indeed.
the same time, I tell you, COVID has also brought some big changes in our education system. The pedagogy is changing now. What was probably unexplored and unexpected in the month of January, but by the end of March and April, we proved, yes, we can do it. Not only, Ashwin, at the university level, but I know at the school level, at the college level, it has percolated. So I do believe that when we fine tune the processes for future too, I think pre-COVID and post-COVID scenarios may be also considered where you define the parameters. Paddy was speaking about the subject ratings, wherein he did mention about the 6 different parameters which you shall be considering and looking into. I'm sure that you will keep all those parameters in mind, looking at the diversity of the institutions, looking at the diversity of our population, and the domains too. We have plains, we have hills, we have gangetic areas. So how each institution can become a part of that. I may be having a strength being in the capital of a country or being in the capital of a state, but probably many institutions may not have that privileges today. How, I think my suggestion, Ashwin, would be that how we can assimilate some of the parameters, looking at the global education scenario and taking it to the Indian homes and Indian institutions, both from primary institutions to secondary and then tertiary. I think you are doing a yeoman service. I compliment your efforts. And I sincerely thank you that I have seen how IGAUGE QS has been interacting with us and getting validation of each and every document. I think it proves, it testifies that you are on the right track, and we, the people who are in academia, will always extend our full support and full help to you. On behalf of DIT University, I sincerely thank your efforts on my personal behalf as well as on behalf of our university. Thank you very much, Ashwin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raina. That's a valid point, and I think the new methodology does incorporate how we look at different types of institutions. We're happy to share the methodology with you. For diversity's sake, I'm going to change the order a bit, and I'm going to invite Dr. Amita Dev, the Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women, to come on now. And they are in the final stages of getting their results, and they have been through a journey. They also have QS Elite certification, and they were the first engineering college for women only to be established in 1998. And we've had such a great relationship with the institution. We've had a great panel with some of the students as well, with Smriti Irani-ji a few weeks ago. So I'm very excited to hear from Dr. Amita on your journey so far, and what are your plans with the results you will receive, and how will you transition on to changing things at the institutions? Over to you, Dr. Amita, in about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe, if you could.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ashwin. And it's indeed my proud privilege to be with you all this evening. As you rightly mentioned, yes, Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women, the first government women technical university in Asia. And of course, this university came up in the year 2030, but it had a humble beginning somewhere in 2008 as an engineering college, the first women engineering college. And it expanded its wings and became a completely self-reliant university. We always say self-reliant because we feel that we are doing and providing an intellectual and ethical environment to all the women to promote their education and where the skill and the spirit can thrive. And we provide them an ideal environment for world-class education, which is embedded with social, cultural, and human values. Definitely, when we came across this IGAUGE, and our association has been with IGAUGE for almost now for few months, I'll say around 6 to 8 months. It has been a fantastic journey with IGAUGE because I personally feel they have one of the excellent tools which captures the essence of dynamics of Indian higher education system, which is very, very important, and it conforms to international standards and the best practices which should be adopted. And definitely throughout this journey, it has made a drastic change, and it has brought a positive difference in our women university because of its global benchmark. And it has helped us to and become an instrumental in achieving a global recognition. I must say very proudly that we were a part of the URI recognition, which is an international recognition World University Ranking Impact, where IGD2W scored 21st position in the entrepreneurship track and 77th position in the global international scenario on innovation. Thanks to IGAUGE, because that gave us international arena where we could launch ourselves. And it also promoted our branding, definitely, and it helped us to garner partnership. With this, many MOUs have been signed with Government of Delhi, for which we have signed with DSSB, we have signed with MCD, helping the MCD. We are signing very soon with the Forensic Science Lab of Delhi, and so on and so forth. And definitely it is attracting now. Till now, we have been having only national students. We have gone on to the international platform, so that now the international students will be coming. As rightly pointed out, you know, we always feel that we are on the right track, but then this assessment has helped us out, and we could find out which are our gray areas. Yes, one of our gray area was that we were not having international students. So with this, we started immediately our journey and moved on to the international students. And it has helped us to formulate and conceptualize MOUs between national and international universities and various research organizations. And I think the best part of this process has been we were able to comprehend very clearly what is the satisfaction level of our stakeholders, especially our students, our alumni, our parents, the parents, and the industry as a whole. We could identify the gaps and find out the remedial measures. One of the interesting things which came across when the students were being evaluated and the feedback was being taken, somewhere we felt that we are missing on experiential learning. Immediately we could take that corrective measure, and we built in that experiential learning component into it, which was fantastic. And it has really helped us to do a kind of a self-improvement exercise. For any university, it is very important that you have your quality assessments, and perhaps we are onto that journey of quality education, quality assessment, and IGAUGE really puts us onto that right track, give us a roadmap. How do we go for a strategic planning to achieve that quality assessment? And it has been a great experience. And finally, I must say, I really trust the rigor and the integrity of this IGAUGE rating, because it is definitely backed by the international advisors and the team of international advisors, which really puts us a lot of faith onto the integrity of this particular rating. Thank you very much, which this IGAUGE has helped us to find out the new pathways for us, to help very closely to our strategic planning, identify the gaps, look at those bottlenecks and work upon them. And I compliment Ashwin, all your efforts, and Ben, and all the very best for the 2.0 methodology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Amita. Some very valid points on the rigor, and I think that comes down from how QS has established itself over the last many years, to our rankings, which are trusted, and to our various processes which have been inherited from the QS Intelligence Unit in London. So over to my next panelist, right from our home ground in Karnataka, Dr. B. Suresh, who is a Pro-Chancellor of JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research. Dr. Suresh, we know that JSS has got a diamond rating and a diamond in many areas as well. And you are also undergoing a major institution-wide audit of various of your colleges as well. So we'd like to hear from you on your journey, especially when you are overseeing many institutions. How did you find the evaluation process in this case?
Thank you, Ashwin. Let me start off by congratulating QS for all its initiatives, and particularly the idea of QS IGAUGE to be present in India, so that it gives a sort of its own perspective at the national level and help institutions to move forward in their journey. I would like to start off by stating that quality is not an accident. It's a committed perseverance. Every institution that needs to look at quality, it cannot happen overnight or do something, and it's a continuous process, and that's what IGAUGE is doing. It's trying to see not that what you have had for a limited time, but it is looking how you have been doing it all along. I mean, it is the whole stretch of gamut which is being assessed, makes it very, very valuable. I mean, anybody can put up data for some information and try to have one-time moment to gain the importance, but that is not what QS and IGAUGE are doing. They look over a spread of period and see that there is perseverance and commitment all along in the quality. So that's what is happening. What I would like to say here is the very fact of going through an assessment to know where you stand brings up several parameters in our own mind and how it has helped us. I think I'll just enumerate them quickly without going into details. One, it helped us to benchmark our quality. We didn't see how we are compared to our other peers in the field, both here and even internationally also. We just try to compare, okay, where do we stand and move forward. Second is, it gave a very clear assessment of our strengths and weaknesses. Okay, these are our strengths and weaknesses. So when you know your weaknesses, you know the areas of improvement you have to do, and you start focusing. Just now, like Dr. Amita Dev said, that experiential training is important. It was missing. So they added to that. Similarly, such experiences do come up and we do it. Third, it brings the comparability between the departments and the constituent colleges within our institution system itself. Is not only outside. Each department and each constituent college starts looking at each other. Okay, how did you fare? How much did you contribute to the whole process? Is something which is very, very valuable. So it brings competitiveness even within the institution, that we have to contribute significantly towards this cause. It also raised the standards of faculty. Now, the faculty knew that they are being assessed, and their assessment and their role is a very important factor for them and for the institution. Though they voluntarily started raising their bar by publishing in peer-reviewed journals and with high data and all that. And lastly, I would like to mention here this success which we had with at our university, that is the JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research, percolated across the other JSS institutions. In the sense, they felt why we should not also go through that. And at the top management at JSS, we took a group of 10 institutions. We felt we should go through this IGAUGE, this assessment, so that it can help build that culture across. And though they were reluctant initially, they were thinking, oh, we are comparing ourselves with university. Okay, JSS Academy got diamond and we may not get that, so we'll be put down in our own system. That was their initial hesitation. But when the QS team started working and interacting with them wonderfully, they all started getting the confidence. It's not about giving numbers and getting some rank, but it is about how to understand yourself and improving. I think that made a very good enthusiastic effort, and they started building and believing in themselves the confidence. I think they all became excited, and now few have already been rated and awarded also the gold and other things, and still some more are in the pipeline to go through. I think this gave a very large perspective to the whole JSS top management, that it is very important, and we are extremely pleased with QS IGAUGE. I think we all know QS as Quackery Cements, but I think you should not now start remembering QS as quality and standards. I think this is what I would like to put here, and I will stop here and maybe this debate discuss a little later whenever the other points are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suresh. Yes, indeed. When I start my presentations, sometimes I do say people think of as a quality standards, quality systems, and so on. And I think we believe we are all of that. But the real names are the names of the founders, which is there in the name. But thanks for highlighting that. We probably missed that out in the initial introduction. So with that, I would like to go to Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, the Vice Chancellor of SRM Institute of Science and Technology. They were amongst the first institutions we rated in October 2018 is when the results were out. They got a diamond and a diamond in several areas. And I think it's been a long journey for you. So we'd like to hear from you, Dr. Sancheti, on your journey with QS iGauge. And now time comes for you to be evaluated in 2.0. What do you think, and how can you contemplate on this journey?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ashwin. Very pleased to be on this panel with the other distinguished experts and friends here. Thank you, Mr. Ben Sauter, and everyone present here. As you know that I represent SRM IST Chennai, SRM Institute of Science and Technology. We have been a big fan and follower of all the rankings and ratings because we believe that is the way to upgrade yourself and improve yourself. QS has come in a big way in helping us and using that platform in furthering our vision and mission. You probably know that we have been the front runner with QS right from the times of when the QS star ratings were given, and we have the 4-star rating. Not only that, like many others, we have 5-star in teaching, employability, inclusiveness, and few other things which are there. But fortunately, 2 years back, a little over 2 years back, the QS IGAUGE also came, and we were once again one of the first few to go for it and obtain the rating, which is a diamond rating. Yes, all of us crave for platinum and others, as Rena Saab was saying, but yes, we should work for that. And we are still working for that. And I like the ratings and rankings purely because it helps you correct yourself. For me, all these rankings and ratings are quality related aspects. And for quality, we have a very common saying, which I learned from somewhere. I don't know the origin of that. It says, do what you say what you do, prove it, and improve it. Now, this prove it has to be by a third party. Prove it has to be done by an independent agency, which has the prowess for doing that. And that is what QS brings to us. Why QS? Because it is international. It's very well experienced. It's very independent and unbiased kind of a thing, third party. And therefore, this prove it is important because in the proving process, they give us SWOG, they give us many other things which are there. And with that, we improve and make the loop complete. And therefore, I think not only SRM, but all others who will become part and who are already a part would be a big beneficiary for all these things. And all other aspects of what you gain by getting these certifications are probably already shared. Each one of the panelists who spoke prior to me probably made worthy points about this, that it is about the self-introspection, it's about the competition, it's about the branding, it's about knowing your weaknesses and improving it. And it's also knowing about what world is trying to do. And therefore, when this invite came, I thought what would be the kind of points of discussion. And I was trying to see where the QS iGAUGE currently, as it is now, the version 1.0 was known to us, 2.0 has been just shared now, is excelling. So for me, I would possibly say that excelled for certain parameters which were not there in the other competitive rating agencies. Indian governmental agencies are there. I need not necessarily describe them. The NAB, the NBA and NAC are there, but probably they did not take into account an aspect of local employment. They did not take into account the international accreditations which were required, which you are emphasizing. They probably did not talk much about the environment. There is a passing remark these days, but not still very significant in terms of what environment can do. I think similarly, there are patents probably filed were the important, but you talked about the patent earnings and all those kind of things which are there. So there are various features which your rating system has brought to the fore, and therefore we have started working on that. But it is my duty all the time as a teacher I do, as a leader I do, that when I'm dealing with a system, I try to improve it further by seeing what can be improved. So I also thought what might be done in the new version of iGAUGE if it is to be there. I didn't know what 2.0. I'm pretty surprised that I also wrote down 3 points, and I'm happy that you also came out with 3 points which were new, and 2 of them have completely matched in terms of even probably the statement which I wrote. And one was on the obviously governance, which I thought was missing, which is very critical in the Indian context. And you came out very, very strongly on that. Similarly, the academic flexibility. By the way, we were talking about the new education policy. It's a very good coincidence that your new launch is launching, getting linked to the NEP. NEP is seeing light of the day. It has got the cabinet clearance, very nice. But the core of new education policy is the autonomy in strengthening the education system. And therefore, this academic flexibility or autonomy is very, very important. And that parameter, if that can be included, probably it will be there. And of course, the other component which I thought, which has not come out very, very openly, it's indirectly there everywhere, the financial aspect. Sometimes difficult to measure, sometimes cannot gauge it very, very nicely. But I think these are the parameters I myself identified, and I'm very happy that 2.0 has come. And once again, this 2.0 version is proving what I have said, prove it and improve it. So you're trying to improve it on the basis of feedback, and therefore 2.0 is a good version. Quality is a journey. It's not necessarily a destination. We have reached with 2.0 another milestone, and you have done 100 institutions. I'm sure with these learnings, 100 more will come very, very soon. And no one of us should miss these opportunities to learn through these exercises. Whether I pass or fail, whether I get gold, platinum, or whatever it may be, doesn't matter, but I should expose myself to that. And to do that, our Indian system, which is very huge, do not have enough agencies to do that. So that's another value which QS adds to this. The third value, which in my opinion, QS adds today is, remember that today we have all gone crazy about online. This word probably we must be uttering 100 times a day. But was it there 6 months back? I think it was a curse, this particular word. But see that the current other agencies which are doing the rating are doing the physical ones, but you never did it from the day one. QS always attempted it online kind of a thing. And you set the tone 2 years back that the assessment and the ratings can be done. I think that's a great value. And the final statement which I'd like to give, and SRM possibly would be ready for that once we get the details, I am a big, big fan of what you call the subject ratings. I don't think so. The other ratings, which are possibly done by the other agencies, are necessarily the best, in my personal opinion. I'm sorry saying that. One is too high level and one is too micro level. One is entire institution, whether there are 10 new departments, they also get the highest rating. And one is too low level in terms of dealing with everything. If I have 5, let's say master's department, I have to get 5 accreditations done for that. Instead, the subject ratings are the best thing in my opinion. I am a beneficiary of a English or UK system where I've been educated, and I've seen that the subject ratings were followed, or the departmental ratings were followed there. Highest rating was 5, and the 5-star. 5-star would be an international quality. 5 would possibly will be a national quality kind of a thing. They used to give the ratings for what we call the teaching ratings and the research ratings. I think subject ratings fall broadly into that category. If my department is good, facilities are good, labs are good, the parameters which I said, practices are good, we're able to deliver good skills, I think my department can do anything good in terms of any new programs. And I think subject rating is something very important. Some of you very consciously pointed out that if I want to become a fresh engineer, let's say, I'll first think which branch, which subject, and then I'll think which institute to go. So I've been given this, giving this example time and again, that if today I want to become mining engineer, I'm not necessarily seeing the world's best because I know that they don't necessarily offer mining. And therefore, subject has to be chosen first, and then comes the institutional things. And therefore, in that sense, the subject rating will also be doing pretty well in terms of my opinion. So these are some of the views, but I would say that all in all, dealing with QS has been very pleasant. It's a good experience, good feedback, very professional approach and everything. And that is what matters most to us, given an opportunity, given the time that we can improve and prove what we are saying. If I'm claiming something, if it is not justified, not understood, I think the time is given, space is given for us to showcase that. And that is how we keep improving. I think with that, I will once again thank the QS for this opportunity. And let's hope that the journey will be an excellent one in the future too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, and I'm so humbled to hear all those comments. Definitely, we have to all prove it, and I think the part where we championed even the e-lead even before a government evaluation would happen right in April shows that we are innovating, and we're innovating not just for universities, but for our stakeholders and our students, to make sure we provide them with credible information from an independent international source. So I'm going over to Dr. Suku Bhaskar, the president of GD Goenka University, who's our panelist here. And they have received the rating last year, have undergone a journey as well. And we would like to hear from Dr. Suku Bhaskar, who's also had international experience as well. And he can give us a bit more perspective on what does he think, has IGAUGE has benefited the institution. And if you could take a few minutes, I'll try to say 3 to 4 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes approximately, because I have some very interesting questions to ask the panel after this. So we are over to you, Dr. Suku.
Overall, in my opinion, our participation in the QS IGAUGE rating has impacted very positively on the university. It fostered greater focus on improving our performance across key criteria used in the rating. So it gave us a focus that we have got to do certain things, and we started to concentrate on things that matter. This was the first in-house audit of the performance of GD Goenka University has ever undertaken. And it gave a lot of forethought to the composite key criteria and the indicators used to capture the key criteria. Therefore, it made us focus on what are the criteria, what are the key indicators. Let's examine this internally and audit how we are progressing. And I think that was a very important step in our desire to up the standards and quality of the university. The fact that this audit and data capture was undertaken in-house and later validated by an independent third party contributed to the credence and the value of the information obtained. So the fact that QS validated the information that we supplied added a lot of credence in terms of its the value of the data. More importantly, for me personally, was the fact that I could get stakeholders to think and discuss in unison on matters such as staff and student diversity and how diversity contributes to improvements in peer-to-peer learning, as an example. I canvassed these needs at various university forums and believe that I obtained the buy-in of key stakeholders. So when you want to change, you've got to get the buy-in of key stakeholders. And the fact that we followed a systematic process in capturing information and saying what changes have got to be made and how this could impact on teaching, learning, research, and other outcomes in the university, brought about the buy-in of important stakeholders, both students, academic staff, and being a private institution, the owners as well. Also, based on the learnings from this quality audit, I'm sorry, I describe it as a quality audit. For me, it was a quality audit. We adopted systems, processes, policies that will help us focus on change management so as to increase our capabilities in several key areas. A simple example is our academic staff recruitment process. So even on matters such as that, we could do changes that will help us go forward in regard to quality and quality of outputs. We now give great importance to, for example, research and publications in the pipeline, rather than exclusively on the research track record of candidates being considered for academic positions. So I personally participate in most interviews at the senior level. And one of the things I look at is what research are in the pipeline with this candidate, what publications are in the pipeline, not the historical data of where they have been. So we start to look more seriously at academic staff retention rates. And that's one of the items in your rating. And we said this has got to be given emphasis. And how do we retain staff and how do we increase their satisfaction with what's going on in the institution? We look at the experience of academic staff in non-academic roles. Not-for-profit organizations, have they worked there? Have they worked in industry? What value add can they bring because of these experiences? And again, it was one of the items in your rating. We initiated in-house academic staff training programs. I personally do quite considerable training programs. This Saturday, I'm doing a training program on PhD supervision, for example, to improve their performance and contributions per the indicators used in QS IGAUGE ratings. So we use the measures in the QS IGAUGE rating to audit our work and initiated actions to improve. So these are the main things that we have done to date. As far as its impact on student recruitment or choice of the institute, it's very early days for us. We've just got the QS IGAUGE rating, and COVID-19 set in, and therefore it became a totally different environment. So I would not be able to talk to what impact it had on students choosing GD Goenka as a study destination. But certainly that great impact on systems, processes, and other matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You only give me 4 minutes, so I'll speak.
I'll come back to you because that's a question I have for you later as well on the students. But I'm going to take the new category, a new criteria, which we have in the rating, which is now in an advanced criteria, which is called governance and structure. And it is required that you do participate in governance and structure if you're aiming for the platinum badge in methodology 2.0. So I would like to pose this question to two institutions on the panel, one a public, so definitely I'll be asking this question to Dr. Amita, and one to a private institution if you'd like to take it, and I'll give it to anyone in the panel who would like to take it. The governance and structure has indicators like, do you have an ethics committee? Do you have a board of studies? Do you have a code of conduct for students, faculty, and staff? Do you publish an annual report? Do you have international and national accreditations? And do you have alumni and senior students represented on the governance structure of the institution? So what is your self-reflection on this? I'd like to get it to Dr. Amita first, because you're a public institution. You can share with us your perspective of governance and structure. And meanwhile, we'll hear from somebody else in the panel. Over to you, Dr. Amita. Yes, Dr.
Thank you, Ashwin. I think it's of paramount importance to have governance in our methodology. And as you rightly pointed out, various essential parameters and ingredients of this are, do we have an ethics committee? It's very, very important, because as I started, my first line was that let's have an intellectual and ethical environment, because ethics plays a paramount role in today's environment, especially when we are going for everything in an online mode, where the social barriers are absolutely removed, the geographical barriers are removed, and ethics plays a very, very important role. So yes, definitely ethics committees are a very important part, and we strongly believe that we have ethics committees with us. Then coming down to the various statutory bodies, because there has to be a board of studies which looks into the curriculum, and especially today into this pandemic situation, which is highly unprecedented situation, unimaginable situation. Now these board of studies are taking immediate call. How do we change our offline classroom to the online, to the blended, to the adaptive mode? So these board of studies are playing a crucial role, and we have very much incepted these statutory bodies like board of studies, which is looking into these, and very often they look into the governance and then code of conduct. Yes, a code of conduct at two important levels, one at a student level, another even at a faculty level. We are very acutely and concerned and very conscious being a women university. So the code of conduct plays a very, very vital role. And then we have something like alumni. I think our best, we are known by the alumni we have. We are known by what message they percolate in the industry. I think we are backed by the best of the alumni. And I must confess here that our alumni are IAS officers. They are working at various levels at an international and at national platforms, fetching very good placement packages and structure, and we have alumni meets. Every year, it is mandatory that we connect with these alumni, take a feedback from these alumni, because they are the ones who are telling us where are we lacking, what are the points where we need to work upon. So I think, and I must compliment that IGAUGE has looking into the governance, which is a very, very important point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amita. Dr. Sanjeti, would you like to take a minute and reflect on that from a private perspective?
Yeah, so governance is my kind of pet point, I would say. As I was telling you, I had already thought of that. I think it's very critical and important, and most of the institutions, if they are failing today, for whatever reasons, it's probably the governance. People are good, they're capable, they're qualified, academically well done, they have research experience, but they cannot govern or get the things done which is required. And by the way, autonomy is something very, very important. Governance and autonomy are related, okay? They are probably two sides of the same coin. And therefore, I think governance becomes very, very important. Ethics is fine, grievances, redressal is fine, international accreditations and all that. The transparency is very, very important. Yes, in transparency, the governmental institutions score very high. I was part of them for a large amount of time, 28, 29 years. But I would say that the structures like board of studies, as you mentioned, but the faculty boards, because most of the universities will have faculty. The faculty boards are also important because different departments can collaborate and connect with them. Similarly, Senate and academic councils. So I must tell you that in last 2.5 years in SRM itself, we have made sure that in all these bodies, we have the student representation somewhere two, somewhere one, somewhere whatever. And then last year we started introducing alumni at every stage. That alumni should also come because they can be more free and frank and give us the feedback on that. But on top of that, the most important thing with governance would be boards like planning and monitoring board, where people from different agencies, including QS and others, can also come. The academic advisory board, which will bring the newness to the academic approach and delivery. The international and industrial boards, which can once again do wonders in terms of connecting us here and there. So these are very important aspects of governance. But the most important for me would be how much of delegation I have given. I am ready to govern as a vice chancellor or a chancellor, but are the others also able to govern? Is this delegation or autonomy trickling down to the lowest level, including my students? And therefore, both financial and administrative and academic autonomy is a part of governance measurement, and it should be taken care. A student should be able to choose the academic component freely, and therefore they are also part of the governance in what we deliver and what we create for them. So governance is a very important parameter. I'm happy that in version 2.0, you have increased it, and I'm sure in 3.0, whenever it comes after 1 or 2 years, it will be further increased, because that's defining the problems and the solutions both for the current set of Indian institutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very valid point, Dr. Amita and Dr. Sanjeti. My next question is to Dr. Suresh and Dr. Shashi, and the question is relating to internationalization. Now, I know both your institutes as well have a focus on internationalization, particularly at JSS. Dr. Suresh, I know that you attract a lot of international students for your medical programs. Now, with the introduction of a separate category for internationalization, looking at international students, inbound and outbound exchange students, an international relations office on campus with policies for this office, and looking at international collaborations, MOUs or MOAs for joint conferences, research, dual degree programs, and summer winter schools. How are you excited? Are you excited of an indicator like this? And do you think in the review of JSS again in a few years, how do you foresee you to feature in internationalization?
Thank you, Ashwin. Internationalization plays a very important role in expanding the vision and scope of the student while he is in studying. The whole idea of internationalization aspect in an educational institution is today's students who go across the world, across the country, and engage in various professions, they should understand and have the tolerance towards the other people, other parts of the country, and be able to support and work with them. That's the whole idea or the underlying principle of internationalization. And yes, it is very important and should be there and should be strengthened as we progress further. At this juncture, I think exchanges may be a problem in the coming 1 or 2 years. I think it will expand later. So I think the degree of engagement of international should be measured even beyond the actual exchange that the student or the teacher may have. The engagement can be measured by various parameters, as you already mentioned, number of joint conferences, the type of projects they are doing, the type of learning resources they are sharing between each other, and how much of, in fact, close interaction is taking place even on a day-to-day basis between the different international partners is something which we have to measure. Even it need not be only at the administration and at the college level. It can be even at the student level. Are the student at the in the university free to engage with the student of the partnering university and have interaction? Do they meet virtually? Do they talk to them about their problems? Do they share their issues with each other? How do they look at each other between races, religions, and communities? I think this is, another level of engagement which we have to foresee in the coming years. I think this is going to be something very, very unique and different, because today the students with the access to the internet and the digital platforms can reach to anyone in any part of the world. So interacting and developing relationships is the easiest thing through this digital platform now happening. I think this is one thing we have to do. And next is, I would like to say is that, when we are looking at internationalization, what was the outcomes out of it? Did something really happen out of that? How did the institution's perspective improve over the period of this internationalization relationship? Did it curriculum advance? Did the students get an opportunity to go overseas and get that exposure or immersion they were looking at? Or did it help in the students' perspective in understanding and working with other countries? I think these outcomes also need to be measured simultaneously. I think this is something which we have to keep in mind, keeping in view the challenges, at least for the next 2 years. There may be a lot of other challenges coming up. So I think these two, these points should be kept in mind while doing that. But yes, internationalization is must, and it is a very exciting platform. Right from the day 2008, when we became a university, our first step was to how do we build international relationships, and it has gone from strength to strength, and we have seen the success stories coming out, which you also have seen during your assessments. So I think it's a great step, and it should be there as a part of the thing. This is what I would like to say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suresh. Dr. Shashi, a very quick response if you'd like to give, because we are almost a little bit over time, and I have one more question for the panel.
Sure, I'll keep it really brief. So definitely, yes, I do welcome the idea of internationalization to be one of the key parameters. But as Dr. Suresh really mentioned, for the next 2 years, in terms of physical movement of students across countries, we still don't know how that's going to be, given the entire world is experiencing a change. And with everything happening in different countries due to the corona pandemic, we don't know how comfortable students would be moving across countries. So as long as there are opportunities for virtual collaboration, be it online in terms of projects, in terms of classes, be it whatever, in terms of if the opportunities are there and those can also be considered, definitely, yes, we welcome that and we are looking forward to that as well. Another thing which I would like to share from our own personal experience, is when we underwent the IGAUGE process in terms of exchange students, we always, from Kalasalingam University, we have a high number of outgoing exchange students, but incoming was always less. So in terms of incoming, it used to be less than about 50 to 60 every year. We were seeing what can be done and we were focusing a lot on engineering. That's when we decided, when we underwent and we found that was one of our weaknesses and where we could look at, we saw that the strength of our country is much more. be it in terms of language, be it in terms of culture, be it in terms of religion. And being a university, architecture, name the field, apart from engineering, there are a lot more opportunities where one can look at and one can capitalize. As a matter of fact, this summer, in June, we were supposed to organize, along with the University of Pennsylvania, we were supposed to organize a 3-week Indian history tour for almost 120 students, which got postponed due to the corona pandemic. So internationalization in terms of opening the perspective of students to different cultures, to different, I would say, environments is definitely possible and is welcome in the in the IGAUGE ratings going forward as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Shashi. And my final question to Dr. Raina and Dr. Suku is how, and we did talk about these ratings meant for students to make decisions. In this current form, could you share with us of your experience with using these results to probably increase student enrollments or emphasize to students that you are a better institution in a city or in the state, or perhaps what should be the best practice institutions should use their ratings and how they should use probably the category ratings or the elite for the matter. So we could probably do a quick minute or so each from Dr. Kuldeep Raina and Dr. Suku. So first, Dr. Kuldeep, please. You're muted, Dr. Kuldeep. Dr. Kuldeep, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
We have to test the times now because we are passing through a very crucial phase. We are in touch with the student because the admission process almost started now with the declaration of results at CBSE level, SA level, as well as the state boards. We are making it available to the students through all our platforms that were possible an institution is going to have this type of structure which has been rated under IGAUGE QS rankings. I am sure it will have an impact. It goes to larger diversity of our student population. Surely, yes, it is going to make a difference this year. Thank you.
Wonderful. Dr. Suku, from your side, any best practices you'd like to share with us?
I address this. I thought your question was in regard to how effective the use of getting a QS rating is in student recruitment. Am I right? That was the question.
That's right.
And I said when I responded to you earlier that this is something we cannot establish at this stage because we've just got the rating several months ago, and then COVID set in. So it was there's a lot of challenges in the marketplace. And you said that I've got international experience. Yes, I'm quite considerably different to perhaps some of the panelists in the sense that I was not born in India, never educated in India, and came on the last leg of my life on a sabbatical to IIM Kozhikode, and I got headhunted into this position, and I decided to stay around for a while. But what I've observed in the Indian education scenario, I'm 10 years old though, so I have become a Desi. Yeah? So in 10 years, at least my staff tell me that, Suku, we can see the transition from the first time we met you to now, you've considerably changed. And therefore, I think I can speak with authority that I know the systems here. The biggest challenge we face, I believe, in terms of student recruitment, I think primarily my experience so far is that approvals from the UGC, AICT, and the large number of professional bodies such as the Council of Architecture, National Council of Teacher Education, and the Suresh is there, the Pharmacy Council of India, all these seems to play a much more important influences to date in regard to the choice of study destinations or the courses or programs that they wish to pursue. That's my personal perspective of what's happening currently with us. But I think over time, when we demonstrate that we've got good processes and systems, including practices in regard to the conduct of research ethically, practices, and we've got an ethics board, which I've established, and practices in regard to academic integrity, like as a practice. I tell my faculty, look, you co-publish with your PhD scholars. But tell me, what is your intellectual contribution to this? If you have not made any intellectual contribution, it's quite unethical to include your name in this paper. So those sort of thought processes I've introduced. And we have extremely good partnerships, international partnerships. For example, we have got arrangements with some universities on split site PhDs. We have got arrangements with some universities in regard to study abroad for PhD programs without any tuition fee for one semester. And if they go on to the second semester, there is only a bench fee. So these are some of the extreme differences that we have brought to the marketplace. And I think the QS IGAUGE might have indirectly influenced the perception of these universities to get into activities such as this with us. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suku, for that. A great panel. We could probably go on, and there's so much more insight. And I hope we can run a small coffee conversations online with each of you and stream it perhaps in the future, because I'd like to ask some rapid fire questions in the future, or probably do an elevator pitch with all of you all. So that would be very interesting. And I think I'll be keen to explore that with my team and see what we could do in the future as part of our engagement. We've come to the end of the session here, and I would really like to thank everyone. So Dr. Kuldeep Raina, Dr. Suku Bhaskaran, Dr. Sandeep Sanchetti, Dr. Amita Dev, Dr. Shashi Anand, and Dr. B. Suresh for coming and spending this time with us here. I mean, I know you all are all, it's a middle of admissions or whatever other tasks you're doing. Things are crazier than what it was yesterday or the day before. So we are really grateful for you to come and share your thoughts with everyone. We do have questions from the audience, but we haven't got to that, but I will circulate that around. And if you'd like to answer that, we will publish a quick white paper on that with the answers after the session. So I would like to now check whether we can have the closing remarks, and if you're able to get Ben again online, or we can proceed on to Shubayu then. So let's go on to Shubayu to do the closing remarks. Over to you, Shubayu.
Thanks, Ashwin. Good evening, everyone, to all the panelists who took the time and effort to be a part of this webinar. Oh, there's Ben as well.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt with some of the challenges that I've been facing today. Obviously, before I let Shubayu run away with the closing, I'd like to thank Ashwin for chairing an excellent panel. I think his knowledge of all of your individual situations on reflection probably put him in a much better position to chair an engaging panel that drew out examples of how you've been working through this crisis and drawing on some of the IGAUGE resources that you've had at your disposal to challenge your own stakeholders and your own organizations to further improve and develop. It's been inspiring to listen to. I've managed to catch most of it on the way through. So again, thank you to Ashwin for standing in for me in that context. I think you did an excellent job. And thank you to all of the panelists for sharing your diverse stories. You know, that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. It's not a one-size-fits-all measure that just stacks everybody up in a table. We do that with our rankings. IGAUGE and QS stars are about really beginning to explore the multidimensionality of institutions, and I think that's been expressed extremely effectively through this panel. So thank you to all of you. Good luck with the future and through coming through the rest of the challenge that faces us all at the moment. And I'm more than happy to hand over to Shubayu and thank him for seeing out this session. Thank you again from the UK. And we're watching and we're involved. We've got a fantastic team out there in Bangalore seeing us through this crisis. And if they can help see you through this crisis, then please do reach out and engage with them. And Subai is the logical person to round out that final message for us all today. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. So yeah, like I was saying, thank you to all the panelists who took the time out from their busy schedules. Ashwin has thanked them enough, and I can't thank all of you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this panel. When I started the process of QS IGAUGE rating with a couple of you, I did go out, meet you, ask you the challenges, the questions you face, and we have implemented your feedback into our methodology 2.0. We will be sending that to almost everyone who's here today, along with all the panelists. So please expect the same. You can also download it online on our website, which is igauge.in. And I do understand that these are difficult times, but you know, like Henry Ford said, that quality means doing it right when no one is looking. And this is the time to prove that. This is the time when you can your institution better than others, right? So with this, I would like to thank everyone who is part of this panel today, our team, to Ashwin, Ben, Chitra, and Paddy as well. Along with that, our team in Bangalore, who is in the back end quietly and consistently doing everything, our analyst team, who are part of this and have thrown some amazing questions, which we'll be sending forward to all of you as well. So that's it from our side. If you want to know any more details about QS IGAUGE, please log in on our website, which is igauge.in, and you can always reach out to me as well if you need any other details. I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you very much, and have a good evening, and stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, QS. Thank you, Dr. Ashwin and Ben and IGAUGE also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Take care. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all.